share button. Yeah. Okay.
Can you see now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. Slideshow.
You're already in slideshow. Just
Okay.
click through.
No, it's not. Okay. Forgive my ignorance of the slideshow.
No, you just click the slide and it will go forward.
No, it's freezing. So I don't know. It freezes. I say, okay, slideshow.
We're already seeing your slide.
Yeah, but it
Click.
refused to turn.
Click. It's not
Yeah,
moving.
it refused to turn. I don't know what happened.
Okay. So just talk what's in your head.
Okay, so let's turn it off now. Sorry. Let's turn it off.
We start from nothing. And how the word will emerge.
Turn it off.
It says, somebody suggests you use the arrow key.
Let me see. It didn't refuse for me to turn it off, the screen. Okay, let me see. Window. Next time. Okay, can you see it now?
No.
No?
It's
okay,
not. Okay, you can do it here. You just click them one by one.
Share windows. Let me see.
No, you are already sharing your windows. You just need to click
see my window or no?
slide. You just
can you see my window or no?
We are looking at your slide right now. Now you need to
see your first slide.
The one you want.
Are you seeing my first slide now?
Yes.
Yes. And then in your list of slides on the left, we see 4 blank slides and then a new slide.
Okay, now let's do this way. Okay.
Click that.
Okay.
Okay. You win.
So now I was a linguistic student, studied for even a bachelor and a master degree for following or influenced, adored Chomsky. And the more we study, or I study, I find very thinly grounded. And to me, I almost trying to devote the rest of my life to say, now Chomsky's theory, very, very thin. It's not very well grounded. It's too much of thinking out of blue, because I know I wanted the same thing as he wanted. Every baby learn a language without any difficulties, but it's so hard to learn a second language. Must have something there. But later I find a total different explanation as universal grammar, as generative transformation, as inborn things. No, human beings are among animals, are the one inborn with capability, but nothing. It's nothing there, but capability of learning a lot of things. So when I say compare human animals in intelligence and language, so now compare all the other animals, we are very intelligent and rational. Intelligent and rational, the two things. We have, or we can learn to have. We only can learn to have structured language with design features. That's Hackett. And the design features, he gave quite a few features, and he also considered, and I think quite a few features animals does have. Animals do have language, to me too, only not structure. they have a chunk of things. So most of the remarkable thing is he called displacement, is we human beings can talk something that is not here, not now. Animals can't. They only talk things here and now. That means we can tell stories. Something goes on, we can tell even 4 stories. We can create something that doesn't even exist. That's the only thing we have different structure. And the structure is actually, I agree with Wittgenstein, logically organized. But as his later work defined is not so logically. Both are right. Both are right. So if any other animals, we say if buffalo can discuss, if 2 or 3 of them can discuss, and they will, like us, die of age and bury themselves because no lion or leopard can hunt for them. If just 3, okay, let's protect each other's real, and the horn is strong enough to defend against any other animal so far, maybe not elephant. Okay, so that's the thing. The only thing, of course, we are capable of learning things, but not so superly inborn as Chomsky's assumption. So now, but there are 3 aspects we need to pay attention to. So for most of us, in most situations, we are more emotional, similar to other animals, than rational. Even in learning and teaching mathematics, that's what I am doing now. I find why people cannot, or at least Americans, majority of them, cannot learn math, is they forgot that part. They think human beings are rational. We can, but we are mostly emotional. So people hate math, majority of them, because we think everyone should just logically follow like a computer. So number 2 is our cognitive RAM, or working memory, is severely limited, according to Miller's rule of 7 plus or minus 2. Therefore, we are very limited, very, very, very limited. Okay, my first computer, I think, is only a few million byte RAM. Now it's kind of come to what, G or T or something. So now, like Japanese proverb says, the frog in the well. Well, over the frog in the well, with our little 7 plus minus 2, we think we can run every program, but we cannot. Okay, just like our computer is still using 286 or 386, most of the programs now we're using cannot run on that computer. So we didn't realize that. And even, we are cavemen living in the crane, only see the shadows. So we seem not aware of it, except only few. That's why my talk, the main theme of my today's topic is actually using Chomsky to compare with Wittgenstein to see how many of us real sages or our human beings were facing the danger of didn't realize our limitations. So now say, while the impact is relatively minimal in the domains of mathematics or science, dealing with disciplines that involves complex systems, such as human behavior and human society, scholars, researchers may have grasped some aspects of that discipline, like the parable of the blind man and elephant. To me, Chomsky is definitely hold one little task called the tail, and he saw elephant like that. Majority of our Karl Marx, he said, we'll try not to mention his name because sensitive to China. Okay, and they developed the theories that are partially to the right point. So when we read their books, they all make so much sense to us. We thought they are right, they are right, they're right. But they missed the whole picture, They are using the 7 plus minus RAM to try to run the programs that needs maybe T or G at least. So they, remember, we have the same RAM too. So we think, oh, that's right. That's how the human history come to here now. We run into big problem. And one thing we realize is that we are emotional. So two kind of people find it useful. One is the merchants. The merchants find people are emotional. They're trying to sell them things using emotional part. Another is politicians. Now with the multimedia things, all the politicians are not anymore the sage or the smart thing like Plato thought. They are performers, they're entertainers, and they're trying to collect votes. Even not performers, performers entertain people. They make people laugh. But now the worst is the politicians now make people free. The fear they install them and the hatred they install them. That's the two things very bad for politicians. And using that emotion. So this is the things. Okay, now next one is the terrible thing is that some eminent thinkers always says proclaim they have groundbreaking discoveries and try to give guidance to the public and the politicians. And the public believe them, and mostly based on their marketing skill. And Chomsky's success is, to me, 90% or big chunk is, is his marketing skill. It's not his serious or convincing. He's very good at marketing. He has good marketing skill. And then now you can see Chomsky is on everything. It's not just about linguistics. He's so influential in even politics. Okay, now let's see here. Most human caused catastrophic and foolish events in history have been instigated by individuals who were highly intelligent and well-educated. So they are thinking they are so good. They all now understand things and you guys don't. So let me tell you what to do. So I'll give you a few examples. Rousseau definitely wrote very good insight of human nature, of society, but his discourse of inequality is totally nonsense. So I'm sorry for using not academic language. So I just give two phenomena to tell his idea. Sorry, I agree with Hobbes. Even Locke's thinking the natural order or natural rule or natural state of human beings are very well and peaceful and get along well. So two things. One is the number of human beings on Earth is not as many as one type of monkey for billions of years. It's not hundreds, tens of years, if we count what human beings really is, or our Homo sapiens is. The number is so limited. We are on the top of the food chain. Why don't we say any animal will multiply as much as they can, like what rabbit in Australia? So without enemies, they just multiply. Why we don't? Second, why human beings living everywhere, the same Homo sapien, everywhere on Earth. And while all our, at least so far we know 21 cousins were wiped out, is we are not living in a peaceful manner, as Lao Tzu said so, and Rousseau said so, before now the modern society or the capitalist so cruel and so bad, and before we are so peaceful. So why we live that thousands, 10,000, 100,000 years, the population is very tiny until recent 500 years. People become so numerous by overtakes the billions of years of what we have. Okay, so another example is, of course, the Manifesto of Communist Party. Okay, the list of two things. So one is the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggle. So let's talk about the Ukraine war. Which class is fighting against which class? Now the Palestinian and the Israel, the Jews, which class they are fighting. So definitely this makes no sense at all. Then in Chinese history, all the wars tell which one is class struggle. They use the name, yes. Both the rebellious people trying to recruit as many hot body to be their cannon founders. They say, I'm trying to help you, okay, I'm your class. But no, they use it by name. They never really care about, no, that's not, they don't care, they cannot care. Okay, they're the class, if there's a class, they use them as, finally, as a tool to come into controlling group. There is, yes, classes. There's a different classes there in the society, but it's not, history is not one against the other. The leader is also always a leader, and being governed is always being the government or subject, and governors on subjects, they're always, it's not because they are set there, no. So these two things, so Marx is more phenomena of what our limited understanding and thinking they understand human history. He predict everything, he know everything about history, and he know everything about capital. And so very jokingly, and Karl Marx translated into Chinese, exactly the same word as Musk, just one word opposite ways. So Marx and Marx. So Musk is definitely the capitalist. He used capital to that degree. He didn't even can afford, because he used his money to be as capital, not to say buy a car or buy a house. He has to invest into his business. But he didn't write capital. But Marx, who knew nothing about capital, he didn't play with capital at all, wrote this huge book, you know, about capital. So in the surplus value, the evil of the capital, and now all the developing countries are trying to attract investment as the capital comes from the developed country. So China now, we are now the second largest economy for one single reason, the investment from abroad. We trying to allure the evil thing, capital, as called Marx, to come to exploit or suppress our Chinese people. Now we can have enough food. And that's also another remarkable thing with these scholars. They make Chinese the most diligent people go hunger. They don't have enough food. And we say Chinese, if you give them the backyard big enough, then they're bad. They can feed themselves. But millions, 100 million people in hunger. That's how disastrous this fatal conceit, according to Hayek. That's I do another one realized, the fatal conceit. They think themselves as knowing things. They're trying to tell people what to do. So in the Chinese intellectual, in the first part of the century, majority of them followed the communist idea. They think they are right. They denounced, only a very few followed the nationalist. And now the majority of those intellectuals following or adoring the communists, they're half of them about suicide.
You have 5 more minutes.
Okay. So now we see here, now Wittgenstein's later philosophy, we heard a lot about his early, and I adored him mostly, is his later philosophy represented complete repudiation of his tractators and the notion of an ideal language. He realized he was limited. He was later find out, as what we said, the limitation of human brain. He was not that cocky anymore. Now you can see here the picture is North Korea and South Korea. And people still, I think, millions of people following this regime and adored, and they never realize how weak the human mind is. So not so intelligent, but very definitely very weak. That's human beings. Very, very pity for them. Okay, look at this picture. Now, say Noam Chomsky's among the various schools of linguistics, there is probably none whose impact can compare to generative transformation grammar. That's what he discovered or claimed he find out. And rules of language acquisition are innate, inborn, which I totally disagree. So universal grammar, and I don't think is more than logic. And the grammar actually is not very logical. So now language acquisition occurs during critical development stage. That's true. That's what he said. Of course, everyone say, our brain does function when we were young and assigned their roles and later kind of said. So there are three series of language acquisition: cognitive, inherent, and social culture. That's a good example. We grasp part of the truth. All of them have a very good point, but they are not the whole thing. They don't fight each other. They should not. You get one step of the one part of the elephant. So how to learn a language in 6 months? There's by Chris Lansdale tells even adult can learn that. So it's not a miracle that human being can only language as a baby. That's to tell that's innate, that's inborn. Now, even adult can learn that, only our brains function very well in ways and not so good in some other ways because we're occupied. So now great success marketing, that's most of this now, especially I'm in education now, and education, we are learning new math, a common core, every kind of new theories, new method, new approaches, by marketing. It's not by they are right. They are partially right. So now the Ludwig Wittgenstein so revolutionized the way. That's what people evaluated him, and that understand language and his early work. So now we say his early work, his later work. That is definitely very demonstration that our understanding is very limited, and most scholars is his early stage and never come to his later stage. So Chomsky, I know he's 90-some years old. I dare not to tell you should write your later work. To tell earlier work is just like Wittgenstein find he was too young to bragging about himself, understanding things. And later he find out he really understands things. So his later work is a very good example. Now he realized the limitation of our understanding. So he found that complexity of language, our thought and the world, and the limitation of our mind and tools to understand it. So try not to explain, as he said, but only to describe what we can or demonstrate, make sense of it. Now, human language is this is my language sentence. Human language is a worn-torn, overused, and messy logical constructed system. First, it's logically constructed compared to animals' language, if they can call them language. It is logically constructed. It's not innate grammar, but it's so messy because it's worn-torn, overused. That's what Wittgenstein discovered, that they are more situational than logical. So another is my teacher, okay, my linguist teacher. A word is fossilized poem by Max Oppenheimer. He's my linguist teacher. So even a word, that's definitely different from Wittgenstein's idea in his early book, that a word means nothing until they have a relationship with another word, which definitely makes sense. A word doesn't make as much sense until because he pays attention to the structure, to relationship, to, you say logic, we have to have a P and a Q. You have to, how they are related, true or false. So as Lao Tzu said, true or false tell each other. If there's no false, and you cannot say this is true, only you demonstrate by true or untrue. But a word one single word, fossilize the poem. A poem can be written 10 books about one poem, still not quite maybe understand the whole poem. As we say, a poem, 1 million people have 1 million way of understanding it. So the blind man and elephant, that's what we are in a situation. How intelligent, brave, or clear-minded are we? We're not. So only a few people. So for I was conscious that I knew practically nothing. That's, of course, everyone knows famous saying by Socrates. That's why I say at first I saw his sentence, I read his sentence, I think he's playing with, everyone knows he's the smartest, and he says he knows nothing. So now the more I understand, or the latter Wittgenstein understand, he said correct. So another is the Isaac Newton, definitely is a genius. And he said the boast thing is, he was, say, while the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me, he realized the whole ocean, he just found a little pebble, a shell, nicer on the sea shore, which the sea is undiscovered. So that's why he's seeing this, our limitation. So try to describe, not explain. That's what Wittgenstein said very clear. And designing better society, explaining the dreams, which means Freud. Freud definitely grasped a lot of good things about analytical psychology, but the
time is up.
That is the only part. So the common core, the society. So according to politicians, now we know the time is the Greeks may have a better understanding of the problem and the weakness of human beings. Hence, they promote these virtues as courage, modesty, justice, prudence, wisdom. Of course, wisdom, I mostly promote what Socrates said, or know nothing. Don't bragging that you got it. I'm an expert. I know everything. Now, how much of them do we still have? Now we are not getting smarter, but we lost what Greeks think about virtue, at least courage. We don't have courage now to tell politically correct thing. We don't. We are not politically correct. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions? Jerry? Lou, yeah.
I just wanted to make a remark that I think Wittgenstein's evolution is very interesting. You've referred to it. In a certain sense, as I was explaining, the Tractatus repudiates itself, but he still hasn't let go of the picture idea. He's really captured by the picture idea. And 10 years later and later in his life, he softens on that and is really becoming a very sensitive observer of language, and still very passionate about being logical in his way.
Yeah. That's good. That's what I thought. He is one of my now really intellectuals. So yeah, I know Socrates and Hayek about fatal conceit. There's a few things.
But the other side about this marketing of ideas, you see an awful lot of this in scientists as well. Like physics keeps promoting itself with various bigger and bigger and more absurd ideas, if you want to think about it.
Good, that's true. Great, you have the same.
Claudia, you have a question? By the way, Claudia, are you coming from China right now?
Yeah, I'm back in China. Last week I was in the US, but now I'm in China. I don't have any question. I like the presentations. Thank you for your presentations.
Thank you.
I would make one comment. Yeah, very interesting perspectives of interrelationships of history and philosophy and languages. But I think there's one aspect that I think could be extended further, and it has to do with how individuals create meaning in their own minds from symbols and symbol systems. And in this concept, the various sciences have developed really a plethora of different symbol systems in order to express their knowledge or what they have learned from their experience and from what they've learned from the outside world. And it is this confusion among these many symbol systems that are very difficult to disentangle. And each individual is forced to try their own disentanglement strategies in order to interpret their world.
Good. Yeah. That's to me, that's why math is so powerful, is because our limited RAM, now we cannot dealing with words, we're dealing with symbols. One symbol, so we can have more things to get organized, because one letter is one concept or one even a big equation or even function.
We have both Qiang and Lu here, mathematician teachers. Lu teaches for graduate PhD students, Qiang teaches for K-12. But I think both of you are facing the same difficulty to persuade people believe you, right?
Yeah,
Well,
so I may say one word about my teaching. Okay, my teaching math starts from 1 + 1 doesn't equal to 2.
More questions?
A comment about the math. When you're teaching, it has to be by injunction. You have to say to somebody, do this, and then see what you get. And then you can then find out by watching them whether they get what you think they ought to get or whether they get something new. They might even discover something, right? But it's by recipe. You say, do this and see what happens.
So, but my theory is why people say I started by training, I'm a language teacher, and I use language acquisition to teach math. The people may find, oh, that's not related. No, it's definitely closely related in two ways. Okay, one way is acquisition and learning. Math actually should be also acquired, not taught. So why I don't teach 1 + 1? I heard myself, one big child teach her younger little boy, and I don't relation says, what is 1 + 1? And the boy says, 1 what? I got it. They got confused. 1 what? Now I know 1 + 1 doesn't equal to 2 to young children. You have to tell them 1 what. That's why it's the same thing. They do not learning math. They do things, communicate. That's the way. We are not learning language. Babies are learning language. They try to communicate. They are not trying to learn language. And then the language started by teaching. My theory of language acquisition is by teaching. The baby start teaching his or her mom what's your name is. Mom. That's why universal grammar, only the one word can prove. I agree that is universal. And it's not because the word is mom. Why they call mom? Because they want to suck the milk. So they can only use their nose because the mouth is busy. So they tell them, you are my mom. So the universally we say mama, mommy, ma. Language, everything's different, only mom. That's universal language. So that's the way I know. Math,
first the distinction. It's mom.
That's universal.